Hey guys, what's going on? It's your Huggable Hipster here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a really good day today. Happy evening of Monday because it's getting kind of late right now. As I'm recording this, it is almost 6:45. It's interesting because it's like I postponed this video for a while now. I would have to say like a couple of years I've postponed doing this video. And you guys have known like bits and pieces of this story. You guys have known like aspects of it, but not the entire thing. And I want to use this as an education moment. I don't want to use this as a bashing tool, as, you know, a thing where, oh, this person did this and this did that. We're going to go about this from a logical, respectable point of view. For those of you who cannot tell by the title, we are going to be talking about what happened when I worked at a game company. Now, out of respect for the people who worked there and for the company that no longer exists, because when I went to search the company name and everything like that, I found no trace of it left. The YouTube videos that I saved from the company that I worked at, I can't find them anymore for some reason. So either they deleted everything, just absolutely everything, or I don't know, maybe they unlisted them or something like that. I'm not quite sure. Even then, I would probably still be able to see them. But yeah, if some parts of this video sound jumbled up, I'm trying to like retrace a lot of my steps. Also, I'm kind of nervous about posting this video, so just bear with me, please. After talking with a lot of people, it made it apparent and it made it really clear actually that I need to make a dedicated video about this, going over the story of what happened, going over kind of like how this is in the gaming industry. You know, we see the crunch time, we see, you know, manipulative developers, we see a lot of really bad things happen to not just males but a lot of females in this industry. And like I've said in numerous podcasts, there is accountability that needs to be taken. There are things that need to be discussed because it is important, not because it is a thing to gain clout or you know, number momentum, as I like to call it. It is something that is legitimately heart-wrenching to really think about and put into words, but you have to if you want to be able to make an impact and make something better for the next round of people that come after you. So we're going to go into it. I'm going to be posting some screenshots where applicable, because it's actually kind of interesting. I've had two different trains of thought from people saying, well, post screenshots. No, don't post screenshots. When it comes down to it, for educational purposes, if I feel like the screenshots fit, then I will put them in. For my story, at least, I'm going to make things as vague but applicable to how I'm going to tell things as possible, because there is an overarching point that I want to get across in this video. And I made somewhat of a script out in my head because I don't want to, you know, beat around the bush with anything. I want to be straight cut to the point, no tangents or anything like that, which is very unlike me because I tend to go off on tangent a lot. So this company that I worked for, which, like I said, the people and the company name are going to remain nameless. Those of you who know, you know. I can't help it if you put it in the comment section, but please, if you know, don't, you know, send hate or anything like that to the people, because that is not what I want out of this. I just want this as an educational tool. I don't want hate sent. I don't want any just negativity to come out of this. I just want this purely as an educational thing. So the company that I worked for, everything started out really well. You know, at first when I worked there when I graduated from college, and I was really excited. I was really looking forward to it. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna work at a game company. This is so cool. It was like on the rise indie game company, and I felt kind of special, you know, brushing off my shoulders. I was like, oh my god, this is just so cool. You know, when I started working there, I was given the title of head writer because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Everything is going according to like what I wanted to do. I didn't even picture going in and working for a game company. It was offered to me by a person who used to be my friend, who I actually knew in real life during the time that I went to school, when I was working at a bar and grill place, you know, to make like some cash on the side and everything like that, and I did gigs there and all that kind of stuff. So it was one of those things of where like I met him and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were into games too. We talked about it. I talked about like some of the terminology, and like I would geek out with him about like all the different types of like mapping of certain games and everything. It was like, you know, perfect kind of friendship level type thing of where like we would just geek out about games in general. And one thing led to another, and I ended up receiving a message from him, me and one of his his other friends who was the musician for the company at the time, who did like all the primary beats and music work and all that kind of thing. We got into a group chat on Facebook. This is when I still had Facebook back in 2016. 2017, I got rid of it. I was like, I don't need this in my life right now, you know? I don't need it. So 2016 was like, all of our conversations were either on Facebook, or that was when I first got into Discord, was because I remember this specifically. I remember getting rid of my Facebook, and I was like, we need some place to chat. So we hopped onto Discord, and we did all of the chats through there. So 2017, I got into Discord, and I remember us just having so much fun with the writing process. Everything was going great. I was head writer because he needed people, and we were all just starting at that point. And whenever we started, I remember us getting a contract, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty legit. You know, we have a contract, we have this, we have that. The overarching point of this video is to talk about how companies don't pay. There are a lot of companies that do not pay indie writers, indie developers. So while we're all enjoying this momentum of feeling like, God, we're on top of the world, we're creating things that people are going to play, that people are going to love, that people are going to go into this adventure, and they're going to see my story that I created. They're going to see people, you know, and their characters that they created. All bits of us are living through those characters and through those stories. Now keep in mind, a lot of the stories were concepts that came up from the developer and other people in the company. I was the one to flush them out and make them into what they are, in a sense, in that game that was created. So I'm gonna pull up an example. As you guys can see in the video here, as you guys can see here, this was actually the first game that I was about to say one of the first, but it was the first that we got onto IMDb, and I was elated. So as you guys can see, my name is the only one there because, like I said, I'm blacking out everybody else's names. They had my name spelled wrong as Ariel Donnon. I don't know why they did that, but still, you know, that's besides the point. It's really a cool moment because, you know, having this on IMDb, having a legit voice actor go through and work with us on this, and having this game for people to actually play and everything, it was really, really cool. Just seeing my story, something that was originally a concept from the head game dev at the time, and seeing how I could rework it, and seeing how, like, you know, all the characters came to life. It was really, really cool. And I asked him at one point, I was like, hey, you said in the contract that a percentage of what we make from the game, it goes to us, right? Obviously. And he was like, yeah, but you know, the revenue from the game, you wouldn't be getting enough. I don't care if it's 5 cents. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $20. I don't care what the amount is. You pay your employees. So it states here in payment, section 2, employer will pay the employee a percentage which shall be calculated as follows: 5% of sales. So it's one of those things of where, like, I would keep asking him, you know, when are we going to get paid? You know, even other people are actually asking, the artists are asking, you know, when are they going to get paid? He had a good employee size. Like, this company, this dude had a good set of employees, good loyal people. Like, the people I worked with, besides a few, I will say that, besides a few people, it was really good people who worked there. They did not deserve to get just effed over the way they did. They did not deserve it whatsoever, okay? And actually, one of the people who I got back in touch with from the company that I worked at gave me permission to show any of the screenshots that she had. So I do want to say thank you to the person who allowed that to happen. If I do end up using them, it will be in context, like I said. But yeah, it's, if you own a business, if you have a place of work of which you are making a living, and you have other people there who are working with you or for you, you have to pay your employees. This is just pure and simple bottom line. You have to pay your employees. You have to give them that respect of having their time valued as something, having your time valued as something, and having their work ethic and how they approach your business, because they're taking time out of their day, right? They're waking up early. They are busting their butt in order to be there for you, to be able to make your dream come true as well as theirs. You know, if it's an equal partnership type thing, they're making their dreams come true as much as they are yours. So there has to be some sort of give and take. When I was working there, I was naive I was stupid. I was so stupid. It doesn't excuse how I was treated at all at the very end, but I was stupid nonetheless. Now I'm going to show you guys a quote from Discord that I had, that I said, because one of the quotes that initially started the whole debacle of why I left, I don't have, because whenever I screenshotted it, I had this thing inside my head of where, like, I'm going to screenshot this because I'm going to get back at them and I'm going to get mad and I'm going to do all this. That's pointless to do. It's pointless. Going from something with an anger perspective just to get back at somebody, it's pointless to do. What I did was I ended up deleting that screenshot because I thought, I'm not going to need this anymore. And that was like a year after everything happened. I was like, I'm over this. New phone, new me. So that was at the point when I got the iPhone 6 and I was like, I don't need to transfer any of this stuff over. Moving on. I didn't realize that literally years later, I would be asked about the game company that I worked at. I would be asked about my experience at a game company, and this would get drudged up over and over and over again. And I would have to relive it in my head of telling a story to someone and seeing the expression on their face when I told them that I was never paid for the work I was doing or compensated for any of it. And they just looked horrified because I worked my ass off. Like, I legitimately, like, I worked my ass off there. And no one can say otherwise because I know the amount of work that I put into that company, the amount of help that I gave those guys, from emotional support to just writing support to everything, to literally ignoring my family so I could work there because there was crunch. I didn't know what that was at the time because I didn't know what crunch was. I was new to this entire scene. So even though I was a gamer for years, I didn't know any of the terminology, if you will. So for me personally, it was one of those things of where, like, I felt like at the end of it, I was being taken advantage of because I was working on a story. And this is where my final story comes into play. Even though I did like side character dialogue, I did side quest type of things and everything like that. I loved all the characters that I did so much. This one character, I still remember her name that I created, was Arma, short for Armageddon. I loved that character so much. It just reminded me of like this powerhouse female strong lead, and I was like, yes, I want to make this game about Arma. I want to do this. And that we didn't end up finishing that game either. So it got to a point of where we were actually creating a story called Last Request. Last Request was a story. Actually, it is a story because I still have the story in my thumb drive. I still have it on my computer. For anybody who wants to read the story, you are welcome to. It was my pride and joy when I worked at the game company because it was one of the more longer ones that I wrote. It was only 5 pages, honestly. I've written articles that are longer than that. But, at first I was like, oh, this feels like it's going to be a 10-pager. And then, you know how you like go through the motions of like thinking this is going to be so long, this is going to be this, because there's so many integral parts that go into it. The person who ran HR at the time, who was a part of HR, I should say, it came up with the story plot line and said that he wanted me to take my craft to it and kind of make it into a full-fledged story. So I ran by him multiple different times, and I even learned a lot in this process as well, how to make a character dialogue setup of where, like, you take the character and you break apart its narrative, like what's its hair color, what's its skin color, what's its eye color, break apart the character, anatomy, basically. And we had those due every week. We had like a certain crunch time of where like we had certain things due that were every day, certain things that were due every week for those characters, even though I was the one who took on the story basically and kind of revamped it and redid everything with it. We had all of these different things still due for other stories as well. So not only was I working on that, I was working on like getting all the new people on the same page as well. I didn't do too much of a good job on it, I will admit, because I had real life stuff, and plus I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't getting paid for any of this, so why would I put my full attention and energy into something that was not benefiting me to go towards my future? You know what I mean? I even got, my parents telling me that, look, this is manipulative, what's going on, they're using you, all this kind of stuff. And I was naive. I didn't really see what was going on because I wanted it to work out so much. So for me personally, when writing that story, it felt draining, but it felt good at the same time to get the reassurance from different people, because I was giving them different like tidbits, because like the lead developer and the person at HR who originally wrote the original concept for the story, he asked me to give him like updates on it, on how it's going and everything, including like character dialogue, all that kind of stuff. So I would send in like rough drafts, I would send in this, I would send in that, I would be doing this all the different time, while, might I add, while working with my family, which I still do that part-time, while at the time in 2017 having 3 YouTube channels. I know, it was a lot. Like, I should never have had 3 YouTube channels. I had my main one, I had a music one, and I had a vlog channel, which I don't know how that ever came about or why I thought that was a good idea. Needless to say, it was a lot. It was a lot at the time, and I was just like, I was really basically telling them, hey, I have a lot on my plate. Even other people were coming to vouch for me. Like, one of the musicians who was on the team was like, hey, you know, she is doing a lot, you know, in real life, and I was getting paid from other things that I was doing with my family, so that had more of a priority, working with my family and doing their business, than the game company did, because obviously my parents come before that. And then it got to a point of where they were asking like these ridiculous things, and by they I mean the person at HR who originally came up with the story. He was just, you know, asking me to meet these ridiculous deadlines, and I still wasn't getting paid. I would ask the lead developer, hey, when are we getting paid? When's this happening? You know, I'm talking with other people, and they're wondering if they're gonna get paid either. And he's just like, oh, October. I promise you October. October goes by, nothing. Oh, November, like early to mid-November, you're gonna get it. Nothing. Long story short, because I could keep going on about this, I'm not going to for time constraints, and because I am uploading this so late, I feel like during this time of evening, people have a certain attention span, if you will. So this was like one of the first things that I posted after I had talks with the lead game dev and everything like that. This was after also I posted my long explanation of what was going on, because I literally had like a breaking point. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna send them a message in the public chat area so everyone can see this. Not just the head of HR, not just the head game dev, but everybody. That way everybody knows where my thought process is. I thought that would have been a good idea, you know? That way everybody's on the same page, not just one person and then they don't convey it to other people and everything. I wanted everyone to be equally minded and equal in their thought process with this. What I basically said in the whole message that I did, because I'll try to paraphrase as much as I possibly can from what I remember, because it was years ago that I had it, and it was a couple of years ago that I deleted it as well, because I thought, I'm never going to use this again. So what I basically said, and the part that I think most got them irritated, or at least got the head of HR most irritated, was that this story, this, you know, this job, this job was not the be-all end-all. I don't wake up thinking about this, and I don't go to sleep thinking about this right now. I don't get paid for it. So why would I put this as my main priority? I am doing the characters. I am doing everything to the best of my ability while I'm doing 3 YouTube channels, working with my family's job, and also my stuff as well. So I was mentioning a lot of variable points, right? Also brought up the point that I wasn't being paid for this, so why should I be here more than I deem necessary to be here? If you're not paying someone, you are not owed their time. No one is owed your time, ever. If people think that they are owed your time, they are sadly mistaken. After everything happened, I got a message from the head of HR, which I will read here. And I just want to point this out. You know, these were screenshots that someone gave to me with their permission, so I just want to say again, thank you to the person who gave me the screenshots to use. I very much appreciate it. The person from HR sent me a message. This is also the person who I was helping write the story that they wanted me to flesh out their idea, so keep that in mind. The person typed out saying, people believe the way you conducted yourself when discussing the matters were not acceptable for a workplace and overall rude. I know the other said I know the other side. Oh, I know the other side of you. Sorry. I was like, I know the other side of you. I know the other side of you, but a part of my job is to take complaints given to me and address them. Unfortunately, includes when a fellow worker feels, and after taking in all grievances plus a discussion with lead developer, it was agreed upon that this needs work, and there had been a call for immediate termination, but I felt that was way too harsh and unjust. So you have 60 days to learn to manage whatever builds inside of you and work on keeping it more professional as a friend, which is incredibly patronizing when he says as a friend. And also this comes off as subtly sexist too. Like, oh, you're a woman, therefore you can't control your emotions. As a friend, I would strongly recommend finding outlets to let out anything pent up before typing. A lot of workplace issues can be resolved before they happen when we stop to use our rational parts of our brain rather than the more emotional parts. You know, it's interesting reading this back years later, seeing kind of the treatment to an extent of what was going on and how, you know, how everything was handled. And then to follow that up, I got another message from him after that was, I wish I could say this was a social chat, but unfortunately it's not. There have been multiple reports to HR on your attitude and behavior. And that's the thing, like I was told it was only him who was telling me this. No one else was complaining to me. No one else was bringing the issue straight to me. Even the lead dev said that everything the way I was saying and bringing it forward, there was no aggression. He had nothing wrong with what I was saying. Even people messaged me privately to tell me that there was nothing wrong with what I was saying. It continues on saying, after the discussion with head dev, you are hereby given the 60-day termination warning to address the problems surrounding how you act with others, which this was in no direct stance towards someone. This was what was going on, the situation with Crunch, and with me not getting paid. With none of us were getting paid. That was the entire thing. It had nothing to do with anybody. I wasn't acting out towards anybody. I wasn't acting out towards an individual. I was acting out on the situation. I was speaking my mind on the situation. That's what was going on. Also being bumped down from head writer to writer. Now, correct me if I am wrong, because I haven't been working at a game company in years. I haven't worked at a game company since I worked at this one. But is it possible to get bumped down like that so quickly without going through a process? I'm curious, because I don't know if that's the case. Like that seemed very abrupt to me to an extent. So whenever I saw that happen, of course I was mad. Of course I was this, I was that. That was the kind of the motivation that I needed to just take my leave, to say goodbye. And after I finished the story, Last Request, that's what I did. I left. Now, there was consent given to show the message that I am about to show you guys of how the head developer was treating the artist in the team, and it just goes to show you how apparently this happens a lot in the game world. It's really sad. So this is the head game developer, talking to the main artist who I was friends with at the time, and I'm still friends with till today, where he said, "We scrapped the project anyways, and when you didn't give us 30 days notice, you voided your contract. If you had taken time off work, then you wouldn't have gotten more, then you would have got more done." You did like 10 sketches in almost 2 months, finished one character for the work that you did, but we have scrapped the project, so your art has been removed. And just so you know, this was the pettiest thing you could have done, just leaving all of the sudden. Now you can go back to the job you took time off from. Apparently have a wonderful day, and thanks again for the art that you did. We'll be removing it from the website this weekend. Her response was, in quote, 10 sketches in almost 2 months. I had a job, worked every day, early in the morning till night. I'm so sorry that I was too tired to really draw. I'm sorry that you're doing this so unprofessionally now. Goodbye. This is the poorest way to talk to an employee, especially one that you don't pay. Now, the thing is, with this entire video, I want to be able to bring to the situation that not paying your employees devolves to this kind of mistrust with the company, devolves to whenever you have boundaries, whenever you have a moral compass and you show that, it's kind of like, you know, you get slapped around a bit. You know, they're kind of like saying, oh, well, you know, nice try, you know, in an extent. But with this thing that, you know, with me leaving, I had to stand up for myself. And I wasn't used to doing that then. Trust me, I was not the type of person back at that time to really stand up for myself, to do anything of that sort. It showed me that I needed to really stand my ground on things that I believed in. And it was hard. It was really, really difficult to do that. And the funny part about all of this is, after I left, within the same year, mind you, because I left at, I would say like the middle of 2017, if I'm remembering correctly. That's when I left. And then all of a sudden, I get a message, I think around the end of 2017, from the lead developer telling me about like the fact that they completely scrapped the project that I left them with. Last request. They completely got rid of it. They tossed the entire thing. All the art that the girl worked on, all of the story, the 5-page story that I worked on, it gave me more practice. Yeah, that's, you know, a interesting and positive way to look at it, but it's one of those things of where you're messaging me to tell me that you're working on the project, but also that it got scrapped. I'm confused here. So after that, it was just one of those things of where, you know, I asked him for my employee agreement, and that was that. That was basically, I asked him also, I want to keep things 100% transparent. I at one point asked him for like a recommendation, because that's, you know, that's kind of like the courteous thing you do as a former employer. You give your employees a recommendation, because he told me that anytime you need one, I will give you a recommendation for another company or wherever you are working that is game related. So you guys, just thank you for listening. Thank you guys for even clicking on this video to even care enough to listen. I really, really appreciate it. For those of you who are thinking of going into a game company, do your research thoroughly. Just because you're friends with a person who might be starting a game dev company does not mean they might have your best interest at heart, okay? It's one of those really reality shocking things that people are always out for their own best interest, and you'll see that time and time again. It does not mean that there aren't good people. It just means that you always have to watch your back, and it's a sad fact. For the reality of it, I'm going to say it again, and I will always say this: if you can't afford to have employees, don't hire anybody. Do it on your own until you can afford to have people. I hope this is somewhat educational for you guys, because it's like this took a lot for me to do. Like, I originally didn't want to, but seeing how a lot of my friends are so brave out there in the game community, and seeing how they put their asses on the line every single day, I thought, you know what, it gave me the courage to do this. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. Please share it, like, comment down below if you've ever had a similar experience. It doesn't even have to be in gaming or anything like that. It can be like, you know, in a different business, in a different even stratosphere of like a workplace or something like that. Guys, if you like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below so you get notified for all of the videos that I do, and be sure to stay casually nerdy. I'll see you all in the next video. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story, listening to this video, and sharing it, and all that fun stuff. Peace, you guys.